Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux. Two really nice graded stakes races on tap at Woodbine on Saturday. Full fields. We'll kick off the 20-cent pick five with race number 7. Here's the field for the Maple Leaf, going a mile and a quarter. $150,000 is the purse. We're going to be racing on the Tapeta. And really, distance is sort of the key for the morning line favorite in this race. Millie Girl on class, on speed figures. She deserves to be the favorite. She's never gone past a mile and a 16th, however.
Absolutely, Dan, and she really hasn't done anything wrong so far. Last time out, she had to really work for it in the Ontario Matron, but was able to do it stretching out from 7/8 to a mile and a 16th. But as you've mentioned, a mile and a quarter is a very different ball game, and this is a big field. There's only about 5 weeks left in the meetup at Woodbine, and these opportunities to run in graded stakes races kind of dwindle down as the meet goes on. But the quality is certainly still up north.
Millie Girl showed a potent closing kick in her most recent start. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this race, and Timeform US is expecting it to be a fast pace. No surprise in a big field. The number 2 Inventing is a very fast horse. She was sort of a runoff last time out. She held on pretty well for third, all things considering. The key for her is whether she can relax up front.
Yeah, that'll be something that she'll need to show. She really hasn't been able to relax too much, especially last time out. And even looking at from here, the 7 Ever Smarts coming out of some very quick races, especially that race at Kentucky Downs and the 10 Solo Album. We know that she likes to be forwardly placed. And last time out, well, it sort of worked out for her. She ends up crossing the wire in first, but she was disqualified. So she's going to need to get a cleaner trip.
The number 1 Indy Champagne shouldn't have too much of an issue with distance. It's all about whether she's good enough. She's stepping up into a stakes race for the first time in her career, but she sure looked good in her most recent effort. At a mile and an eighth, this is an allowance event, and she just swept to the front on the outside and goes about her business. I think she's in career best form right now. It is a step up in class, but at a price, I could see people using her underneath at the very least.
Absolutely. I don't think the distance for her, based on pedigree and what she's shown at a mile and an eighth, is going to be a problem. But you've mentioned it's the class. Can she face these sort of fillies and mares at this level? I'm not sure, but her numbers, they've kind of tracked in the right direction. She's had those 85s and back-to-back starts. And speaking with Lane Gilliforti just a couple of weeks ago up at Woodbine, this is one that kind of sparked his love again in racing since he's kind of taken over and has been training a little bit more in recent years after having that break. So I think him and Chiefs would think the talent is there.
Inventing is expected to be our early speed, making the third start off of a short layoff for trainer Kevin Attard. And she again was runoff last time out. She got tired in the stretch. If she can get the lead and relax, she has shown some ability in the past that makes me think perhaps if they leave her alone, she could take this field a long way.
Just don't know if she's going to be necessarily left alone. You hope that she doesn't show the sort of erraticness that she showed last time out, where she really was keen and hot early on and wants to be forward. Because I don't think, looking at that race at a mile and a 16th, that's going to translate well to a mile and a quarter. And I do think other horses with this longer distance, they should be pretty close to it, especially if the pace is moderate. They should be able to be in striking distance. My thing with her is, yes, she's had some nice races. They've been on the dirt, though, and they've been a while ago. We haven't really seen her too much up at Woodbine, just those 2 starts after having that freshening off that race in June at Monmouth Park. And I need to see a little bit more from her at this point.
If the pace is hot, you might want to consider the number 3 Talbea, who owns the fastest Timeform US late pace rating, and distance will not be an issue for this long-winded mare who is a proven commodity on the Woodbine Tapeta, winning her North American debut here last year and then just being in tough against boys in the Dominion Day. She hasn't raced since July, but she's kept good company on the turf.
Yeah, it's never easy to win first asking, coming overseas, and then coming to North America. But she did it very nicely and made it look easy. And as you've mentioned, they've taken some swings with her. They've put her in some tough spots. And primarily in 2023, all we've seen around is the turf and these really long distance races, a mile and a half at Churchill, and then a mile and 3/8 at Delaware, where I think all in all, she didn't run too poorly over that soft going, but we haven't seen her in a couple of months. They're looking to regroup. She has a ton of workouts, and these are horses to me that when you look at them, Mark Casse really likes them. That's why they've taken those shots, and now maybe this is where she belongs against her sort of similar types.
The third place finisher from that last race at Delaware came back to upset the Flower Bowl with a 90 Beyer speed figure. So she fits from a class standpoint as one on synthetic, no problems with the distance. Illman was very game last time out in the Ontario Matron. I love the ride that she got. She was able to get up close to a moderate pace, and she dug in very gamely to only get beat a half length.
She was really game. This is a horse that I've been a really big fan of, and I think she's, scored a couple of little surprises along the way, but more recently people have noticed her, and she only has that one win in 2023. But I agree. I thought last time out she raced very well, and we can't forget last year how well she did in this race, winning the Maple Leaf. The mile and a quarter is not going to be an issue.
State of Mind, the number 5, is a progressive 3-year-old for a very good trainer in Josie Carroll, and maybe she's figuring the game out with the addition of blinkers. Here's her most recent start. It's an allowance race going a mile and an eighth, first time with blinkers. She's had a comfortable trip up close to a moderate pace, but I do like the way she finishes this off.
I like the way she finishes this off too, and I think in terms of the trip, I like that she was a tad closer than she had been previously with the blinkers on, and now you see Sophia Vivis's aboard for the first time, and I think looking at her riding style, she's going to fit this filly where she has she has a knack for getting horses forward and to relax, and I think it's kind of an interesting combination to see her climb aboard.
The great Roger Atfield will send out the number 6, Ready Lady, who earned a very valuable graded stakes placing 2 starts back in the Dance Smartly on turf, in some very tough racing in her last couple. Last time out in the Canadian, she finished right behind Fev Rover, who of course came back to win the EP Taylor with a 99 buyer. She's good on turf. I think one of the questions is she as good on the synth?
That's the big question. My concern would be she's only got that one synthetic start. They've really never made an effort to put her back on the synthetic, so we're doing it now. Possibly because, there's just no options up at Woodbine right now, right? They're off the turf. The turf is done for the season, so this is their option, and they get her another chance to be in a graded stakes race. But I still think, based on what we've seen so far, she would need to show more, and she's really going to need to prove herself over the surface.
Ever Smart, the number 7, is a very interesting contender going out for trainer Neil Drysdale. Ever Smart showed some tactical speed last time out at Kentucky Downs, but was in a pretty tough spot against the boys. She was very competitive in California earlier this year. I think she has the ability to rate off a horse or two, and I think she'll be right in the thick of things turning for home.
I think so too. And looking at some of those races at Santa Anita, we know soft fractions going a mile at Santa Anita really aren't a thing compared to other places. And she's been quite close to it and has made a late run. A couple of times, though, she has been caught, which makes you wonder a little bit about a mile and a quarter. But she has won at a mile and an eighth. And we'll see what she can do on the synthetic. She's never had a start over it, but it's interesting to see her training in New York. And it looks like this is kind of the target that they were looking for. And I know we'll see one of her stablemates on the program as well on Saturday. So maybe it's a strategic move, and Trevor McCarthy is going to climb aboard.
Mailloux is another horse that should show a good amount of early speed. Just nailed last time out in the Ontario Matron. Another situation, Luis Contreras did everything he could do. He was able to get to the lead. The fractions were very reasonable, and Angelou dug in gamely. It was her first start off a short layoff. Perhaps she can take a step forward. She has shown the ability to rate and finish. Maybe that'll be the plan here.
She has, but I guess my concern would be going back to her 3 wins. She's been in front end fashion doing so, and in her last 2, she has been caught both at a mile and a 16th. Now, it is worth noting she was second last year in this race and had no real problem getting a mile and a quarter. In terms of the pace, I thought the pace was, it was decent going a mile and a quarter, and she stuck there right throughout. Finished second, beaten by a length. She is very, very consistent. They tried her at a mile and a half. Mile and a half is a very different ball game than a mile and a quarter. And since then, she is hard to knock. But to me, it is a little concerning, at least in terms of endorsing her as, say, a single around the top spot, just based on her last 2 runs that she's given it up late.
Ephrata, the number 9, was a good-looking winner over the Tapeta 3 starts back, then in tough and graded stakes action, one on the turf, one last time out behind Millie Girl. I wonder if she's exposed now as a horse that might be a cut below graded stakes level.
I would say so. Her best races typically haven't been at the stakes level competition. And, she has those 2 back-to-back 5th place finishes. Yes, one was on the turf. Yes, was the grade 3 Ontario Matron, but she's facing those rivals again. And that's always a tough situation because you're looking for maybe excuses in the trip. And I just think she's just not the same level.
Solo Album, the number 10, is versatile from a running style standpoint. She's won from on the lead. She's won from off. We'll assume she'll be taken back from this outside post and perhaps try to make one run from mid-pack or so. She looked good finishing first in the Ontario Derby against the boys last time out, just showing off that good early speed. She ended up being disqualified in this race, but she popped a 90 buyer speed figure. She's in very strong form from this pedigree standpoint, and the way she stays in her shorter races, I'm not worried about distance.
I'm not worried about distance either. And I think, again, she's the sort of horse that we talked about with the other horse that Mark Cassie's going to send out. These are horses that he likes. You can see that based on where she has been spotted, where she's been raced. She wins the Celine easily. They take a shot at Saratoga. I don't think the ground worked with her. It was a tough spot. And then since then, two really, really nice races. And we mentioned, yes, she got disqualified last time out, but that was against the boys. You see who ends up winning it, Touch and Ride, who won the Breeder Stakes. They were deep water. So excited to see her against her female rivals again. And as you've said, the distance is not an issue.
Going into this race, the Grade 3 Ontario matron, the question was, could Millie Girl go a mile and a 16th? She's certainly shown better going shorter distances. She was able to get covered up in here. The pace was moderate. It wasn't very fast, but Millie Girl got to the outside, and she really shows off a little bit of stamina in wearing these horses down. She beat 3 of the horses she'll face on Saturday. It was a good performance, now a big test from a distance standpoint.
A lightly raced 5-year-old mare too, and the way she really gears down here, I don't think she really hits her best strides until maybe 2 or 3 before the wire. You can kinda see she's still carrying her head a little bit upward, and then when she really figured out what she was supposed to do, she did gear down, and I don't think the distance will be an issue. Pedigree-wise, no, but just looking at her running styles, sometimes horses can't translate that, say, from 6.5 to a mile and a 16th, where they still sit off the pace and make a late run and it works. But it's worked for her just about every single time. And I think we're going to see something similar where she's several lengths off the pace early on. She's going to try to wear them down late.
The 12 Batia looks good on synthetic, looks good on turf, and looks like she'll get the right race flow. Here's her most recent start. This race is on the E.P. Taylor turf course, going a one-turn mile and an eighth. She's last turning into the stretch with a lot of work to do. She's going to come with a solid run to finish third. There was some pace for her in this race. I'm a little concerned that this might be the best she can do, but if you give her the right flow, maybe she comes along for at least a piece.
She's one that I struggle a little bit with because now, I make the case for Millie Girl that I don't think distance is an issue because she's getting kind of big checks every time she's changing distance. Where this mare, kind of the same performance every single time. She closes late. Whether she picks up a check or not is a different story. Last time she was able to do so, but again, now she's got to step up in class, and I do think the waters are too deep for her. Yes, she was a nice third last time out. Keyflower was second, but I'm not sure about her, especially on the synthetic. She's just 1 for 5.
Lady Brew drew a tough assignment from post position 13, stepping up in class, but she deserves an opportunity. She's hit the board in all 8 of her starts this year, including her last 2, both victories. One over the synthetic surface, going a mile and a 16th, and she got a very nice trip and ride here, saving ground behind a lively pace, easing out into the clear and passing some tired runners late.
Yeah, she's going to need to hope that she can get a good position early on and that there's going to be an honest pace in front of her because she has gotten that in her last 2. And as you mentioned, really last time out, that opening half helped her chances. And I agree, she deserves a shot. She's consistent as they come. And now she's got that 2-race win streak, but lofty test, especially from post 13.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Maple Leaf, one of 2 graded stakes races at Woodbine on Saturday. We're both going to trust that Millie Girl can get this distance, especially if she can get covered up early behind a fast pace and come with a strong run.
I think the pace is going to be at least moderate. I think she's going to get what she needs up front early on. And to me, she's as consistent as they come in this field. And I just really love the way that she was able to handle a mile and a 16th last time out. And I think third off that little bit of a freshening, she should be even stronger.
You're going 11, 4, 8, and 1. I'll go 11, 10, 3, and 8. It should be a good race going the classic distance of a mile and a quarter. It's the Maple Leaf at Woodbine on Saturday. Good luck.